Welcome back, everybody. This is the NASCAR 1-Up Retro Cup Series, round number 38 of 40. We are getting really close to the end of the season here, and it's time for our final short track race of the season here at Iowa Speedway. I'm alongside Duke and Zach for tonight's race, and I'll ask you this. Iowa is a action-packed short track. It's loved by drivers and fans alike for its layout and its unique style of racing. I'll ask you this. Is this the one you've been looking forward to most as we're getting close to the end of the season here?
Absolutely. You know, I always love a good short track race. These drivers are going to be put up to the test one more time of having to fight through the lap traffic. And it's going to be a huge part of the race today, like it always is at the short tracks. It's going to be a ton of fun. There's a couple of different grooves you can use to go by slower cars here. So I'm looking forward to see how all of it plays out tonight.
Unfortunately, we were not able to have a qualifying session this weekend as rain forced the cancellation of qualifying, so the lineup will be set via points. That puts all 11 remaining playoff contenders in the top 11 to start, with points leader Stephen Hunter on pole position, with Chris Maley alongside. With all the playoff contenders in one big group, I can only imagine that each position is going to be even more important as the laps wind down.
Absolutely. You know, and these guys are all fighting pretty hard right now, especially those who are up front. Maley in the 44 and Caggiano in the 30 are, you know, they're the next two in the line, and they need to have some really seriously good days today to keep themselves in legitimate contention for this championship. So, you know, it's going to be really interesting to see what they can do, and we're going to have to pay attention to see how Hunter does today, because if he has a bad day, then it's going to be all up in the air from here on out with a few races left this season.
And with that being said, the cars are lined up on the grid. We're ready to go racing. We'll take you to the green flag as soon as the cars are lined up and ready to roll. And this is the 1-Up Retro Cup Series live from Iowa Speedway. Stay tuned. Stephen Hunter and Chris Maley on the front row. A pace car already on pit road. Leaves us in the hands of the points leader in the 51 and his biggest challenger in the 44. The green flag is out. We're underway at Iowa, and Stephen Hunter's got a big lead already. He's rocking it out of the gates really strongly, getting ahead of the rest of the playoff field, heading into turn one for the first time.
Yeah, that was a fantastic restart for not a restart. It was the start of the race, but either way, it was really good for the 51 car. Really got out there, and you know, we're watching the 44 trying to fight. Looks like he was almost clear, but the bottom lane is going to be pretty strong here at first with a lot of grip on the tires. They're brand new at this moment, and we're already on lap 2, just like that.
And Stephen Hunter already has a half-second lead over Chris Maley, but Ryan Caggiano is right on his back bumper looking for a position as the 75 and the 26 of J.D. Martin go side-by-side for fourth. That 75 looks like he's going to take that spot away now. The outside lane's going to suffer a little bit on the initial jump here. As you can see, J.D. Martin's already battling Justin Hutchinson for fifth.
Yeah, it looks like, well, Justin Hutchinson's going to get a better run on that inside just because he has more grip right now. You know, and that's how it's going to be, but eventually, once we get into this run, I don't really expect the outside lane to become a passing lane, but you'll definitely be able to defend yourself pretty well out there if you get snuck low.
And while you were talking, we've had a lead change. Chris Maley is powered by Stephen Hunter in the 51. He will take the lead with Ryan Caggiano falling in right behind. So Hunter falls back to third, which is still a good position to be in, especially if these two make contact battling for the lead. Hunter can swoop past both of them. We've seen this at short tracks before, and you can see the cars blasting down the front straightaway going into turn one. And they all drift wide a little bit coming off the corner. That just gives them a better exit off of 2. And coming through at a corner, Chris Maley goes through. We've got trouble in the back.
Oh, no!
We've got trouble in the back. It looks like Jack Porkins was in it. Nick Ortiz, a playoff contender, was in this as well. And looking back through the field, it was Jack Porkins in the 16 that got sideways. He and Nick Ortiz in the 91 have brought out this first caution flag on lap number 5.
Wow, that was an interesting situation there. We had that awesome camera angle, but it wasn't really great for seeing who all was in that crash or what happened, so we'll have to wait to see the replays for that.
And a couple of cars making a strategic decision to head down pit road here. The 75 is going to make a move on the pit road. Jeffrey Finguy is going to come down. Zachary Fitzwater, Joshua Lee, Nick Ortiz obviously is coming down pit road to assess some damage. But this is an interesting call. They're not going to be able to make it to the end of the race if they pit here. They're going... the ideal pit strategy was going to be ideally pit at the halfway point and split this race in half. But these guys are going to come in a little earlier, see what they can do with some adjustments and some fresh tires as we pull a replay of what happened to Nick Ortiz in this 91 Toyota. So Ortiz is in the middle of 3 wide, almost 4 wide with Mashburn, and he just gets into Martin, who just sends Porkins sideways, and that's a hard impact to the inside wall for Nick Ortiz. I'm sure he'll be able to repair it, but the question is, how fast will his car be able to go after that? Because even with a repaired car, it still won't be 100%. This is where Porkins got his impact from. You can see him he's looking underneath to try and see if he can go 4 wide, but backs out of it.
Not a bad call there, backing out of it, and then unfortunately he still got eaten up from the outside. There was just not enough room for too many cars right there, I'd say.
Yeah, but Porkins should be all right. He should just replace those 4 flat-spotted tires and be back in the running of this thing at the back of the field. He actually may gain a few places because he pitted immediately when the pit road opened. So yes, there he is. He's ahead of all the cars that pitted when the pit road opened. So that includes guys like Henry Thomas, and you saw back there, and obviously Nick Ortiz with some damage repair. He will be restarting 42nd in this race. But we've got Chris Maley out front right now. He stayed out along with Ryan Caggiano, Stephen Hunter, Kevin Carter, who won this race in the spring, in 4th, along with Justin Hutchinson in 5th. So playoff drivers filled the entire top 5, and with the defending race winner in 4th, it'll be interesting to see what he can do once this race gets restarted.
Yeah, and this restart's going to be a little bit less dramatic and chaotic than the last one, which is the start of the race. They were 2 wide. This time they're just going to be single file here, so they're all going to probably file down to the bottom. I'd say that these tires are still pretty good after only 9 laps. Iowa does eat up tires a bit, but it's not going to be so much that you're running slower after only 9 laps. So we'll see what those guys in the back can do, but I don't think it's going to be a lot. It's an interesting strategy call, maybe to take less fuel on the next stop and have it be a little bit shorter. That would be my guess for this strategy call. But either way, we're coming up on the restart here, which is going to be really interesting to see if this 44 can hold off the field on another restart.
And of course, Chris Maley won at Monza at race 7, but he has yet to find victory lane since. If he could find the winner's circle here today, it would be a very good effort in keeping his championship hopes alive, as Stephen Hunter is back in 3rd. Remember, you get 5 extra points for winning a race compared to 2nd place as the green flag comes back out and underway once again at Iowa. But Ryan Caggiano got a better restart than Chris Maley was hoping for, because right now he's all over the back bumper of the 44, and they could be side by side going into turn 3.
Yeah, definitely. That 30 car is going to go for the pass going into turn 3.
Contact going through 3 and 4 as Caggiano washes up into Chris Maley. Going to go wide, and Maley going to scrape the wall just a little bit. That's going to be a factor in this race all day long, is that front stretch wall. It's going to catch a few drivers by surprise as Ryan Caggiano takes the lead of this race.
Yeah, that was a really, really crazy move from the 30 car, but it just shows the desperation that these guys have to try to gain as many points as they can. And it's really not gonna happen if they, no matter where they finish, if the 51 car is right there behind them anyway. So it's a little bit too early for moves like that, but we'll see what happens. The 51 just slid up the track though,
right in front of Chris Maley. So Stephen Hunter will take 2nd place back. Kevin Carter is going to try and get around Chris Maley for 3rd, with Justin Hutchinson in 5th. Miles Mashburn, the first non-playoff contender in this race, looking to see if he can get a nose out underneath. Caden Atkins is up to 7th ahead of Jared Polansky, Bobo Jones, and Jack Halleck rounding out the top 10. Halleck actually started this race all the way back in 24, so it's a good thing for him to make it into the top 10 this early.
Yeah, this is really turning out to be an interesting race. They got 2 wide in a couple of places, more than I anticipated they would after that single file restart. I kind of thought they were going to just ride the bottom for a while, but the 44 has gone from leading on the restart now down to 5th, and you have to wonder if maybe that damage from he probably got damage on both sides just a little bit from that incident in turn 3. You know, you wonder if that damage is really hurting that car right now.
Aerodynamics are not as big a factor on the short tracks as they are in some of the bigger speedways we've gone to, but it still can be a pesky factor if you get a tire rub from contacting another car. As you see Kevin Carter make a move on the inside of Stephen Hunter, he will take the second spot away. Kevin Carter, remember, won at Iowa the last time we came here, so keep an eye out on the 71. He could be a factor in deciding who wins this race.
Yeah, he knows how to do it, or get it done here at Iowa, obviously, but the 51 is fighting back. You know, that 51 car really just wants to keep the 30 in his sights right now. As long as he can stay right there, then he's got a really good shot at keeping his lead in the championship, which is really what matters right now. And the 71, really close to the wall. It's hard to tell how close with that angle.
Yeah, he did lose a lot of momentum, though, and that's going to allow Justin Hutchinson to get back by as for third position. Stephen Hunter has cemented himself in the second. Justin Hutchinson in the third. Carter will slide back to fourth, but right now it's Ryan Caggiano dominating the mid-portion of this race, the early to mid-portion of this race, as he's got a 0.7 of a second lead already as we enter lap 18.
Yeah, this is a really interesting dynamic going around the track right now. The drivers are kind of, there's two distinct lines coming out of the corner, I'd say. Some people are riding up the track a little bit. In fact, the 28s go way up there. I don't think that was intentional. I think he got a little tight running to the outside, but some people are going way out there on the front stretch and riding the wall all the way down, and some others are staying a little bit farther off the wall, which is probably hurting their exit speed just a little bit, but it is definitely the safer way around.
As you can see, the side-by-side battle for third between Chris Maley and Kevin Carter. Playoff drivers still hold the top 5 positions in this race. Ryan Caggiano leads, Stephen Hunter in fourth. He is your points leader and pole sitter in this race after qualifying was washed out. We are already a fifth of the way through this race at lap 20 of 100, and Caggiano is just holding a smooth and steady lead of about 1 second, so he can relax a little bit and just log some laps. But these guys back here, they have no space to be relaxing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. This is pretty chaotic. You know, I'd say that 30 car just being not in the mix of all these side-by-side battles is really allowing him to pull away and then kind of start to relax in this race. That's going to really, you know, when the driver relaxes, he's using less tires, he's using less fuel, and that's really going to help him in the longer run today for sure. Whereas these guys, the 44, the 28, you know, you're looking at them side by side racing each other really hard. They're using up their stuff right now, and you know, it's just going to be interesting to see who comes out on top in the long runs and after the pit stops.
With Caggiano out front by about a second. One person who is not enjoying this long run is Stephen Hunter. He's fallen all the way back to 7th place, now 8th position on the track as Bobo Jones gets past him. So Stephen Hunter not having a good day so far, as Bobo Jones has the fastest lap of the race so far for 22:39. But yeah, Hunter back in 8th place, not where he expected to run in this race. As you can see, the 75 is the highest of the drivers who pitted at lap 7. He is up to 18th place. But something's been amiss with J.D. Martin, actually. He's gone a lap down in this race. In an earlier exchange of stops, I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe he's just off the pace a little bit, but not the way the 4th place driver in the point standings wanted his day to go. He could face elimination from the championship picture if he finishes right there.
Yeah, that's not too good for the 26 car. Still not sure what happened there. But, you know, this 30 car and the 44 alike, they're really happy to see that 51 falling back right now. Of course, there's a long way to go in this race still, but those two really need that 51 to have a bad day. Not that they would ever wish a bad day upon anyone, but it would help their point situation greatly if the 51 did have a bad day today.
With a quarter of this race down already, we have Ryan Caggiano's lead is actually shrinking a little bit. Kevin Carter's closed it down to about 0.7 of a second, and he looks to be closing it even further on this lap. We'll see what the interval is at the stripe. Caggiano has a lead of about half a second now, so Carter closed in another 0.2 on that lap there. Carter is closing in on Caggiano for this lead, and remember, Carter won this race in the spring, so he definitely knows how to wheel the race car around this 7/8 mile track.
Yeah, certainly he's gaining on this leader right here. He's down a half a second, probably even closer as they cross the line and update the Well, it didn't change that much, but that's okay. And, you know, they're probably going to be approaching some lap traffic soon. I don't know how soon. I can't really tell how far ahead they are, but that's going to shake things up even more. So now that those guys farther back from the leader have gotten organized and they've started to relax, they've been able to get some speed out of their cars and chase them down.
Absolutely, and Carter has chopped the lead down by another 10. It's down to 3.5 tenths now, as Ryan Caggiano cannot be feeling too comfortable up there. Remember, I said he was relaxing at the front. He's not anymore, because he's got Kevin Carter and a whole train of cars behind him closing in on the back of that 30 Vegemite Toyota. And right now, as we enter lap 30, it's going to be interesting to see if Caggiano can hold on to this lead.
Yeah, it looks like the 71's starting to get a little bit of pressure from behind, though, so that's going to slow the forward progress a little bit here because the 28 is right up on his bumper.
And Hutchinson is not making life easy for Kevin Carter. As you can see, the lead is back up to half a second. But as Hutchinson pushes Carter down the front straightaway, the lead is now down to 3 tenths once again. And now they're right on the bumper of Ryan Caggiano. So, as said, the aerodynamics in the draft don't play as much of a factor on the short track, but it certainly helped there as Hutchinson and Carter work together to catch this 30.
Yeah, at a certain point, the draft becomes a push. A physical bumper-to-bumper push down the front stretch, and you know they always say 2 cars are better than 1 no matter what track you're at. So that was a good move for the 28 to gain some time on the leader. That's for sure.
Now with Kevin Carter right on the bumper of Caggiano, where does he make his move if he can? Because that's the big question. Catching a driver is one thing, but passing him is a whole other story. So Carter needs to work on making a move at the right time to try and hopefully trap this 30 car on the high side and let his friend Justin Hutchinson pass as well.
Yeah, and the pass is going to definitely have to be, it's going to have to come at the exit of the corner. You know, you've got all this momentum, and you want to use that momentum down the straightaway to get next to them, and then you'll be able to have the preferred line in the entry. And the 30 has gone high here. We'll see if the 71 can get low. It doesn't look like he will this time, but next time. Now he's eyeing down that move, you know, get an entry, roll through the corner, and see if he can get that run off. And it's not gonna happen this time either. There's plenty of time.
It does show a weakness in that 30 car. And that's what Kevin Carter wants to see. He wants to see any sign of weakness he can in that 30. He will take every opportunity he can to strike. As they approach the lap car of Jack Porkins, you said the lap traffic would be a factor. It looks like it'll be just him for now. But with this lap car getting in the way, it's going to send Caggiano wide. It's going to send Carter wide. But it looks like these two are actually going to be in the catbird seat because, look, Jack Porkins is holding up Justin Hutchinson, Miles Mashburn, Chris Maley. Now it's a 2-car battle for the lead as the rest of the field is stuck behind Jack Porkins.
Here comes the 44 on the outside. Oh, going really wide. But he's going to pass all these guys. Oh, get out of the way. We're going to have to... Goodness me, they're trying to get by so much.
There they go. They get underneath Jack Porkins and push him out of the way. Daniel Bouchard's made a very nice charge in the field. He started 42nd, dead last in this race, and he's already up in the top 10. He's running now in the 8th position. It looks like it'll be 7th when they get across the line. He passed the 24 of Ace there. And once the scoring updates, yes, Bouchard is now in 7th place from last on the grid. That is an impressive run out of that 73.
Yeah, there's only 38 laps into this race, and a few of them were under caution. That's a really good run, but we've got a battle for the lead here without any help from behind. This time, the 71 is there on the bumper of the 30 car.
And there he goes on the inside. He's going to make a move down in the turn 1. Will it stick this time? It looks like he will make it stick. They're side by side going into the corner. And will Carter make contact? No. Caggiano swings way wide out of the groove to give Carter plenty of space. Is he going to run too wide? Yes, he is.
He hit the wall.
Caggiano into the wall, and that's going to allow Kevin Carter to take a commanding lead. As now Caggiano's car is turned for the worse after he got passed for the lead by Carter. He just does not like that outside groove, and he almost hit the wall again coming off the corner. This is not what Ryan Caggiano wanted to see at all.
Yeah, and that did not have to be as difficult as it was. You know, he was letting him by. Just let off the throttle a little bit more there, and you don't hit the wall. But one problem of losing the lead has turned into bigger problems. Now your car has damage, and he's still running wide out of the corners.
And he's now almost a full second behind Kevin Carter, who has taken the lead of this race at the track where he won in the spring. So it'll be a good day for Kevin Carter if he can sweep the races at Iowa Speedway in this season. No one's ever managed to sweep a track this season. We've had it come close a couple times, but never fully. As now, Chris Maley is right up Ryan Caggiano's tailpipe, trying to take second place away. But right now, Kevin Carter's got a very commanding lead as Caggiano tries to hold off Maley for second.
Yeah, Caggiano just needs to really maintain and don't get more damage right now until the pit stop happens. Once they pit, they can do a little bit of damage repair around the fenders and hopefully get back out there with minimal time lost. If he can stay in second place, that'd be good. But he's sliding up the track, and he hit the wall again.
And now he's sliding against the outside wall. That's going to let Chris Maley by, and that's going to give Justin Hutchinson the opportunity. That car is not handling right anymore under Ryan Caggiano as he almost hit the wall again off or two. Justin Hutchinson's going to power by for third place. Miles Mashburn's going to take a peek as well. But this 30 car is not handling the way he wants it to at all as after he lost the lead.
Yeah, you know, you have to wonder if maybe he just somehow abused those tires in the duration of this run. We're getting close to the end of the run and some pit stops here. So maybe he just used up his stuff too much.
Contact from Miles Mashburn sent it in wide. We know he's not afraid to send it in. Remember Chicagoland race, he won, and Caggiano's once again into the outside wall. That car is not handling, and that's going to allow Mashburn, Jones, and maybe even Daniel Bouchard to get by as well.
Yeah, that 30 car really, I believe they need to bite the bullet and bring it into the pits right now. He's going to lose way more positions staying out there than he would if he were just to come into the pits.
But can he even get into the pits? Because he's stuck on the outside lane with Daniel Bouchard on his inside. He might be able to slide in between Bouchard and Caden Atkins, but no, the two has gotten to his inside as well. He can't get to the bottom.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's a really tough situation. He's got to try to... Ace is there now, so he still cannot enter the pit lane yet. There's a big gap behind Ace, though. And it looks like he's in a little bit of a gap now.
Yes,
he's now he gets to enter on the bottom.
Now he gets to the bottom of the racetrack, and he will hopefully make his way to the pits within the next few laps because he is not handling the way he wants. He doesn't look like he's coming in this time. He's staying on the racetrack, but he might have gotten this. Thinks he got straight on. Jack Porkins is on pit road to get out of the way of the leaders, get on an alternate strategy here. But right now, the rest of the leaders are definitely thinking about the pit stops. Because right now, as we cycle back to the leaders, there's Kevin Carter in the lead. We're approaching halfway, and as things stand right now, Kevin Carter has about an 0.8 of a second lead over Chris Maley. So he should be able to exit with the lead as soon as the pit stop cycle through. As Hutchinson goes wide and almost hits the wall. And here's Kevin Carter making his pit stop at lap 50, halfway through this race, as Chris Maley follows him in. Justin Hutchinson's going to stay on the racetrack. He'll take a bonus point for leading this lap. That's going to be important for his playoff hopes. But we should expect him in soon.
Yeah, these guys, the pit stop cycle is starting, and I see that the 30 car has still stayed out on the track. I don't understand that one bit. But I wanted to mention it's a tough pit road to enter. You really have to start entering the pit road before the turn even begins, similar to a Darlington in that sense. This track is, and you know, Kevin Carter almost lost it coming into the pits. He went back up on the track, and he was kind of straddling the apron banking seam there, and he almost went right around, but it was okay. In fact, look at it, 28's going to do the same thing. That's crazy.
As is Christian Vargas and Jordan Prestos. They are both going to do the same thing. Peter Onjak stays out. He's on a different strategy. As Zachary Fitzwater stays out to lead a lap. He is one of the cars that came in on lap 7. So these guys can probably go about another 6 to 8 laps on their fuel longer. So they'll probably stay out a little bit longer to try and get some track position, see if an overcut can work, as Zachary Fitzwater leads Andres Molina now on the racetrack. They're staying out and hoping that a little extra laps on their tires can pay dividends when they finally do come into the pit lane.
Yeah, and you know, the way this could work, I think, is these guys are staying out. They're obviously running slower laps right now than the guys who have just pitted. They're on fresher tires. They're running faster. But these guys, they're going to pit in about 10 laps, I'd say. And when they come into pit, the other guys are going to be on older tires, and they're going to be running slower. So the hope is for these folks that pitted earlier in the race that they're going to be able to make up that time lost after they make their pit stop while these guys are on a little bit older tires than them. And they're going to be able to push a little harder because they have less laps in the race to have to use their tires. So
they could also catch a yellow flag and track all these guys down a lap. That could even help them even more. That could also be what they're hoping for. So Zachary Fitzwater is leading this race. Andres Molina second, and Molina will peel off the pit, as will Arthur Xavier. But Fitzwater will stay out a little longer, try and make the strategy work as much as it can. So Molina and Xavier pit. That is going to give second place, I believe, to Paul McKinney in the 34. He is also on this strategy of staying out a little longer. He will stay out as Zachary Fitzwater finally makes the trip to pit road in his Wilson Security Dodge. But Paul McKinney's going to stay out. He's going to get a lap led, and he really needs one because he's outside the top 30 in points, and he needs to break back in a big way with only 3 races remaining.
Yeah, he absolutely does. So this is going to be good here, and if he could get lucky enough to catch a yellow, I'm not sure the status of the rest of the track right now if anybody's around each other, but he's going to come in and pit anyway. It's the tires are too old, really sliding around on entry.
So it appears that the pit cycle will cycle to J.D. Martin in the lead of this race.
Interesting.
He pitted a little earlier than the rest of these guys. So Jack Porkins, Kevin Carter is going to cycle out to second place ahead of the 44 of Chris Maley. So what I believe is going to happen is Martin's going to stay out for a little longer, but he's going to have to come into pit road. That will put the lead in the hands of Kevin Carter as they go side by side for Porkins and Ortiz. Stephen Hunter had Ortiz into the wall. That drops him off the lead lap. But Stephen Hunter had a dreadful pit stop, and that's now put him one lap down. This is throwing the championship battle in a big way out of sequence because now Hunter is all the way back outside the top 30.
Yeah, and we've got that 44 car who needs a big day of points today, sitting there, who I believe will cycle in probably third after this. Correct me if you think I'm wrong there, but he's going to end up third.
Because Kevin Carter is leading.
Yeah.
Daniel Bouchard's had a great pit stop. He's up to second. But right now, with J.D. Martin out in front of this thing, he's hoping for a caution to save his lap because he was a lap down before the stop cycle out. And I imagine he'll go back a lap down if he pits now. So he's begging for a caution to come out so he can save his lap. Otherwise, he's going to go back a lap down and possibly end his hopes at a season championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And wow, I just saw Kevin Carter go a little bit wide back there. The 26 is going to have to pit here.
Now Martin comes into pit road at lap 61. He's the last car to come down pit road. So the pit stops will cycle to Kevin Carter having about an 0.8 second lead, maybe more, about a 1.1 second lead over Daniel Bouchard. So Carter is going to have an interesting race from here on out. He's got to hold on to this lead. He's got a lap car in between himself and Daniel Bouchard. The problem is he's got 3 more lap cars right in front of him, and they are not willing to get out of his way.
Yeah, they've been battling pretty hard for the last couple laps, you know, so this is going to be interesting here on out in this race because there are no more pit stops. It's just flat-out racing from here on out, unless there's a caution, of course. But, you know, I think that Kevin Carter's chances are looking pretty good right now, especially if he can get ahead of these lap cars. Then he'll pretty much be clear sailing, and the 73 behind him is gaining time. He's gained about 2/10 since I started talking. But that's just because he's stuck behind these guys. So he's got to get around those lap cars first and foremost.
Jeff Bolton is the car behind Kevin Carter, who hopes that Bolton will hold up Daniel Bouchard in a way that'll allow Carter to pass these 3 without much issue. But I don't think that's going to be easy because 2 of these cars he's battling are playoff contenders, and they do not want to let Kevin Carter by at all, especially Stephen Hunter, who now is in danger of losing a lap here for Kevin Carter as they enter lap 66 of this race.
Yeah, you know, in that 44 car, what a moment that would be for him to catch up to and pass this 51, who is now a lap down, or soon to be a lap down. That would be a crazy moment, because the 44 is one of those guys that really needed a good run today in comparison to the 51.
But you've gotten what your wish, as the caution flag has come onto the
Oh
racetrack.
my!
Just after the pit stops have finished, we're trying to find who this caution is for, and there it is. It's Caden Atkins in the 2. He was running in 7 when this caution came out. Something must have happened to him. We'll find out what happened to Caden Atkins in a moment, but this is going to stack up the field big time here on lap 67 of 100. So you see Caden Atkins, he's running all by himself pretty much, ahead of Brandon Beal, comes off of turn 4. Nothing seems to be wrong. There's no one ahead of him, no one behind him. Oh, and there's the problem. That engine just let go on his number 2 Miller Lite Dodge, and his race is over just like that. Tough break for Caden Atkins. He had such a good run of momentum going. He won at Riki Raceway, remember, and had another top 10, I believe, at North Wilkesboro. And he was running in the top 10 here too. But his race is now done on lap 68, so this is not going to end the way Caden Atkins won.
No, not at all. Tough break for the 2 car.
And with that being said, Caden Atkins will pull out of this race. You can see there, he is now out of the running. As you see Kevin Carter, slow on the apron. He was the race leader. This is a big development in this race. Kevin Carter having some kind of problem, a slow leak perhaps in his tire. This has impacted several drivers in the past. This has been an issue for several drivers in their bids for victories in other forms of motorsports, and now it's happened to Kevin Carter, a slow leak in his right rear tire that sent him to pit road on lap 69, and that's going to hand the lead off to Daniel Bouchard, who's now in the catbird seat to take his first career win.
What a day for that 73 car, but he's going to have to fight off the 44 and the 24 and the 72, who are all going to be really hungry for the lead and for the win of this race with only about 30 laps to go. So it's going to be really fun to watch here, and I'm not sure the situation with the lap cars, if there will be anybody lining up inside of the leaders, but if there are, it could put some folks that are just behind in a good situation to make some moves.
So Kevin Carter will rejoin the race as the last car on the lead lap. It still shows him as the leader right now, but he's yet to cross the start-finish line after his stop. So he will cycle out behind everybody else. That's actually saved Stephen Hunter and the 75 for good measure. They keep their lead lap positions now that Kevin Carter is on pit road and out of contention. So Daniel Bouchard is your race leader now. He started 42nd in this race, and now he is your leader. Go figure for that race. From last to first here, as Chris Maley is now in second position ahead of Ace in the 24, Miles Mashburn in 4th, and Christian Vargas up in 5th as the lights are out on the pace car, so we will have 1 lap to go to the restart. And as you said, there are some lap cars. The 91 of Nick Ortiz is down there, the 3 is down there, I'd imagine the 16 of Porkins will be down there. Cal Farrell's there, Jacob Johnson's there, JD Martin is there. We've got a lot of lappers on the inside, and that could be, and as well as Jeff Bolton on the tail end of the lead lap, lining up ahead of Daniel Bouchard.
Well, that just made things really interesting for this restart. We're gonna have to focus in on those blue cars to see who is gonna be the leader coming out of all this. 30 laps to go, or just a little bit less. So we're gonna see. This is gonna be interesting.
We're going to take the restart with 30 laps to go, and Daniel Bouchard leads them off the corner. He's not the leader on the high line. That's Jeff Bolton on the tail end of the lead lap, but Bouchard gets a great launch off the restart, but so does Chris Maley right behind them. They are going to clear the lap traffic, and Ace in the 24 is going to get trapped behind Cal Farrell. It looks like it'll be a battle between these two to settle this win between them.
Yeah, it certainly is. All 3 of these guys starting in the front of the outside lane got a really good restart, and thankfully the car that is the very tail end of the lead lap right now, that was really good to get a good restart right there. Good move to not let any of these guys be impacted by a bad restart. That would have been a really unfortunate thing to have happen. And now we've got a good race for the lead, except the 73 is starting to pull away a little bit.
Daniel Bouchard has had a fast car. You have to have a fast car if you can get from last place on the grid up to the race lead in just 72 laps with the help of only 2 cautions. So it's a good run for Daniel Bouchard, a candidate for driver of the day, I'd say, even if he doesn't win this race, because he has made an incredible charge from last to the lead with just about 25 laps to go in this race. It'll be interesting to see if he can hold on. But Chris Maley's also got a fast car, and he's right behind Daniel Bouchard as well.
Yeah, he's starting to gain a little time. The more laps that go by with the 73 stuck behind the the tail end of the lead lap car that's right in front, the more laps that he's stuck back there, the more laps the 44 is going to have an opportunity to get by the 73. So that's got to be the main goal right now for the 73, is to get by that 38 car.
Right now, it's not looking likely, as Chris Maley's closed in on Daniel Bouchard now. It's down to 3 tenths of a second right now, as Bouchard runs a little bit high in 3 and 4, but that's not a big issue as long as Maley doesn't catch him, and it looks like he won't. So right now, Bouchard's enjoying a comfortable lead of about 1/4 of a second, which it doesn't sound comfortable, but trust me.
No, it doesn't.
at this stage of the race, any lead you have is a comfortable lead. As they head down into turn 3, Jeff Bolton's actually starting to pull away from Daniel Bouchard. That could also help him, because if Bolton gets out far enough and Bouchard gets enough clear air, then he can start to pull away from Chris Maley as well, because the 3's right on the bumper of Chris Maley as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say that 3 car is really putting a lot of pressure on the 44 right now, and that's not for position, though it is for track position, if nothing else. It's not letting that 44 focus forward, it's having to defend.
As we look through the rest of the field, you can see Kevin Carter struggling back in 29th. He has not made much ground up since his unscheduled stop, so he is falling back through the field, as we've had another caution on the racetrack.
Oh no.
You can see why. There's a lot of smoke, and it looks like it was the 32 of Seth Taylor that was involved in this one. Yes, it was. So Seth Taylor brings out the 3rd caution of the day on lap 78. Looks like Nick Ortiz got a bit of this as well. That's not what he wanted. He was last of the championship contenders going into this race, and he's not going to have a good day today. He could face playoff elimination in this race.
Bad day gone worse, certainly, for Nick Ortiz. But there's a couple of guys that benefited from this. The 38 car is going to be able to gain all the way back up to the end of the field. So we just saw he drove away from the leaders, so that should be some positions in his future for sure. And the 3 car is going to get the waiver round, I believe.
So that being said, Seth Taylor brought out this caution, and we'll find out why with this replay. So you see, it's a similar situation to before. Ortiz gets hit by Ryan Soper, and he just collects. And Polansky gets involved in this as well. Kevin Carter as well. All those guys were just victims in that. As you can see, Nick Ortiz get back around Seth Taylor. So 3 playoff contenders were involved in this one accident, and that has certainly put their playoff hopes in jeopardy, because Kevin Carter entered this race 9th in the championship standings, Polansky 8th, and Ortiz 11th. So this is not going to help any of them contend for a championship. Even with Stephen Hunter's bad day, this is not going to go well for any of those drivers.
Yeah, and you were right. This accident just started the same exact way as the last crash that we had in this race. It just too many cars, not enough space coming out of that corner.
So Daniel Bouchard will line up as the leader, but he's got Chris Maley back behind him once again. It'll be Ace in the 24 and 3rd. There's a couple lap cars separating them on track right now in this line. Jacob Hammond's actually made his way from 30th on the grid up to 4th. So another back to the front story there for Jacob Hammond. And Jack Halleck lines up 5th after starting 24th. Andres Molina in 6th after starting in 37th place. Good run for him. Sam Donota started in 33rd. He's up to 7th. Valera in the 69, she started back in the 20th position. She's up to 8th. Brian Caggiano has made his way back up to 9th. And Miles Mashburn rounds out your top 10, as it looks like, perhaps, we will get the one-to-go signal this time by, and the answer is yes, we will. So we will be going green this time by, and the lap cars take their place on the inside lane, and we're going to have quite the interesting restart with less than 20 laps to go.
Once again, we will, but this time, luckily for the 24 and those on back that are on the lead lap, there is not a non-lead lap down, or a non-lap down car ahead of the leaders on the outside this time. They're going to be able to have free reign starting this race. So we'll see. We'll see if those guys can maybe avoid getting trapped on the outside by the lappers this time. But that's a long line of lap cars, so we'll have to find out probably the hard way on this restart.
So as the pace car goes into turns 3 and 4, he will pull off, leaves us in the hands of Daniel Bouchard and Chris Maley. They have been out front for the last couple laps of this race, at least since the last restart. So, as the pace car pulls on the pit road, it leaves us in the hands of Daniel Bouchard, and the green flag is going to come back out shortly, and there it is. We are back racing at Iowa Speedway, and Daniel Bouchard gets a little bit of a sluggish start.
Yeah.
That's going to allow the 3 to stay to his inside, but now he slows down just enough, goes a little wide, and that's going to allow Maley to make a little bit of contact in the rear, and that's going to let the 3 get past as well.
Ooh, and this, it wasn't enough room, though. He tried to go low, and he ran out of room. He's going to have to stay high. The 44 is really close to the wall. Man, this is incredible. That wasn't a very good restart from the 73, and now everybody on the lead lap is stuck on the outside. Some are 3 wide.
Jacob
this hasn't turned out
is
well
making
today.
a run for second place now ahead of Chris Maley. Maley is stuck on that far outside line. He's not getting any help at all. Sam Donato's managed to make his way to the inside line of those cars on the lead lap.
And the 44 tapped the wall.
And he did, and that's going to cost him a lot of time. To ace in the 24, Jack Halleck's going to get underneath him as well.
Oh, the 16 made a fantastic save going into that corner. He was full loose with contact being made. I just barely saw it. This is incredible right now, the wrench that has been thrown in this race due to the lap cars. And meanwhile, the 73 has almost more than a full second of a lead right now
in this race. As right now, Daniel Bouchard is trying to get by that lap car of Jacob Johnson. He's not going to really do much with him. He's going to get to his inside and hopefully get by. J.D. Martin's also a lap down, so he can not worry about that. But Sam Donato is on that inside lane, and he is going to be a big challenger if he can stay on that inside line. And if Daniel Bouchard has to contend with these lap cars much longer, Donato could be a factor in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. This is really going to be interesting that J.D. Martin has just gotten by to get his lap back. You know, this is kind of weird watching the leader struggle to fight some of these lap cars, but it's just the nature of how it is. Everybody pitted at the same time. Now you get clean air out there, and it's just like you are the leader, essentially, because you're running up front. So these guys are running really good right now, and the 73 is losing time, but gaining time.
He's forced up high to get around Jake McMillan and Jacob Johnson. And did Bouchard hit the wall just there? It looked like a little bit. You can see a tiny little scrape on the right-hand side of that 73 Fina Dodge, and that allowed Sam Donato to close in the gap. It's now less than a second. You can see the Six Flags Chevrolet right back there trying to close in. And if Daniel Bouchard keeps getting stuck on this outside lane, that is not going to help him at all. As you see, Donato's closed it down by 4/10. It's down to half a second now. Sam Donato is closing in on Daniel Bouchard. This is by no means over as we approach 11 laps to go in this race.
Yeah, the 73 is losing a lot of time to these lap cars. I can't explain why, but he was forced wide, and I definitely think that there probably was contact with the wall at some point. It's going to be really interesting to see if that 00 car can get up there. The gap is kind of growing and shrinking with every lap that passes. It's hard to see who has the edge.
Daniel Bouchard now out in front of this race. Sam Donato did fall off a little bit that lap. Could we see Donato using up his stuff, trying to get to Daniel Bouchard potentially in this race? We could, because that gap's back up to a full second. And now he's got Miles Mashburn right on his bumper. So it's interesting to note that Sam Donato is not gaining any more time on Daniel Bouchard, as we've got 10 laps to go in this race right now. It'll be interesting to see if Bouchard can hang on. This would be his first win if he can manage to keep ahead in these final 9 laps.
Yeah, the 73 right now, they've got to be telling him over the radio to just stay where he is. He's safe right now, even though he's got a bunch of lap cars in front of him. He also has lap cars behind him, separating him from the 00, who isn't gaining a lot of time right now. Stay where you are. Don't risk it right now because you've got the win in your hands.
And as he crosses the stripe to enter lap 93, Sam Donato's lost second place to Miles Mashburn.
Boy.
So Donato is falling through the field quickly and will not be a factor in this race, as Andres Molina is getting underneath him as well in the 23. So this is going to shape things up between a battle between Miles Mashburn and Daniel Bouchard, if Mashburn can even get there, because now Daniel Bouchard has a lead of about 1.4 seconds. So it's going to be interesting to see if Bouchard can keep this lead, or if Mashburn can pick up the pace and get to him in his final 6-7 laps.
Yeah, this is really fascinating. I mean, there's still going to be about 6 laps left right here, and they'll go by quickly. The 72 is not gaining enough time to catch up to the 73.
And keeping in mind that there's 2 lap cars in between Bouchard and Mashburn, so we're coming to 5 laps to go now, and Bouchard's stabilized his lead at about 1.3, 1.4 seconds. So it should be plenty fine to hang on, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes in these final 5 laps, and his gap's grown to 1.5 seconds. So he's just doing what he needs to do, staying up front and running his line. He doesn't need to pass that lap car ahead of him, doesn't need to worry about the lap car behind him. He just needs to stay in that gap between McMillan and Farrell and just stay there, and victory will be his in just 4 laps time.
Yeah, this is just going to be a game of don't make any mistakes. Don't push too hard right now. It's not worth it to lap those guys, because it won't matter at the end of the race. The only thing that matters is keeping a 72 car behind. And right now, since he doesn't have to do that, he's got some lap cars to do it for him. It's all about holding that line and staying steady.
And with 3 laps to go in this race now, Daniel Bouchard is right on the cusp of his first career win. And remember, he started last in this race, and with only the help of 3 caution flags, he has driven his way all the way from 42nd to the lead, to a very comfortable lead, mind you, over Miles Mashburn in this race, as we're coming to now 2 laps to go.
Yeah, and this is the time of the race where the driver of the 73 car is sitting in there, and he is hearing every shake and rattle and feeling every vibration, smelling every different smell, and they're thinking that there is something wrong with this car, because he can't believe it that is about to get his first ever win. But he's got 1 more lap. Hold on, buddy.
White flag in the air for Daniel Bouchard. Can he make it around 1 more time? Daniel Bouchard started his career a little later than everybody else in this series, but he's made up for lost time quickly. He got a top 10 at Bristol. He ran really well at Phoenix. And now from last to first at Iowa Speedway, Daniel Bouchard off of the final corner for the final time. It's victory lane for Daniel Bouchard here at Iowa Speedway.
What a fantastic run in the 73 car. Well-earned, well-deserved victory here today at Iowa Speedway, and we still don't have a repeat winner at the same track in this league, which is absolutely incredible. It just shows the amazing competition here that we have in the One Up Retro Cup Series, and it's just awesome to watch every single week.
With Miles Mashburn coming home in second place for another runner-up finish, he'll look forward to Motegi, where he can try and get another win. Andres Molina with an exceptional run on the. He's not known as a short track racer, but he managed to finish 3rd today. Arthur Xavier 4th. Ryan Caggiano, fastest of the playoff contenders this weekend. He will finish 5th, ahead of Ace in the 24 and 6th, Chris Maley in 7th, Brandon Beal, Justin Hutchinson in 9th, and Jack Halleck rounds out the top 10 as Sam Donato dropped all the way back to 18th at the finish after a rough handling car in the final few laps.
You know, I'd say that an 18th is a bit of a save for the 51 car today. He was really far back at one point. But the 44 and the 30 both had really good runs today, so it's going to be interesting to see how the points play out after this race.
So Stephen Hunter finishing in the 30s, and Chris Maley and Ryan Caggiano both scoring top 10 finishes. This will be an interesting battle for a championship between these 3. And I just want to thank Duke Anczak for all his efforts in the broadcast booth this year. We've been so glad to have you, and we're looking forward to next year when we've got you full-time for the Nitro National Series. We can't wait.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be so much fun to do that next year. I've had a ton of fun this year. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and watching, and I can't wait.
So from Duke and second for myself as well, thank you for watching this race at Iowa Speedway. We'll see you next week at Twin Ring Motegi for the next to last race of the season. The championship's winding down, but most importantly of all, Daniel Bouchard is a winner at Iowa Speedway. Congratulations to him.